Well, hello and welcome to the radio room. We're looking at an RCI 2995DX. Um, the owner has stated that they had a little bit of a coax mix-up and basically put some RF in through the antenna jack from another transmitter. The radio is receiving. Let me turn this down. I'll go to FM. And you can hear it's receiving. It's actually into a dummy load right now. That's AM all the way up. Upper side band. So it is receiving. And I have already checked and put a signal into the back of it with a signal generator. And negative 73 dBm is about S9. So I'm going to say that we don't have a problem with the receiver. And I did have it listening on the air earlier today. I have it plugged into a dummy load right now because I was doing some other testing. But the other problem is, and I do have RF power all the way up, when you key the mic, you can see the transmit light comes on and the receiver mutes. But there is nothing coming out the back. And it does not act like, if you watch this meter here, we're in AM right now. Normally you would see some swing of the modulation when you key something and make some noise into it. And as you can see, there's nothing. I'm talking into the microphone right now. There's no modulation swing on that. So it sounds to me like part of the TR switching is not working appropriately. So I started looking around at things, checking the schematic, and I've come up with a couple of different things on why we don't have anything happening here. I do know that the receiver's muting, and to me that's a very important step in diagnosing this. One thing to note on this is this does have an actual relay in it that switches the antenna back and forth back there with the PA. This is I think 150 watt output radio. So on the back of it, it does have another PA, a high power PA on it. This is a 10 and 12 meter radio. So why don't we go ahead and hopefully this is going to pop up all right. Let's go ahead and look at the schematic. Let me get there. There we go. So the main way, I'm going to go ahead and turn the radio off for a moment. The main way that the 2995, the 2985, the 2950, I think even the 2970, they're all variations on the same radio, really, is right in here. This is where basically the TR switching takes place to signal the rest of the radio to either go to transmit or receive. And I found this after quite a bit of tracing stuff around, basically all the way from, here's the microphone connector and it goes into the CPU. So the CPU is basically doing a lot of the switching and going through and tracing out everything. And I gotta find that again. Oh, just give me, okay. Through tracing everything out and everything, it basically comes up here, and IC6 here does a lot of the controlling. This looks like an operational amplifier, a dual operational amplifier when I looked up that part number. So basically, coming out of number 7 here, looks like our controlling voltage. It's basically turning one off while it's turning one on. So Q47 here is the receive switching. When this transistor gets the signal that you've pushed the PTT, it mutes the receiver. And basically it looks like they're using Q48 here as an inverting, I guess you could say, transistor in order to bring this low, it looks like. Or actually that might bring it higher. Because that's probably, yeah, okay. Anyhow, but Q49 right here is also fed off the same signal. So while this turns off the receive, this one turns on the transmit. What I'm thinking is going on, so I think IC6 is fine because the receiver mutes. So in my opinion, what I'm thinking is that Q49 might be bad, or I was thinking Q49 might be bad. And basically, when you key this, it's going to turn on this transistor. So, figured what the heck. I'll just go in there and see if I, push the microphone. Basically, jumper between the emitter and the collector, and see if the radio goes into transmit. So I did that. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that would look like. So, let me see if I can find something to point with. I never have something to point with right at hand. And of course, my little normal pointer disappeared on me. So I'll just use this. So right down in here, boy, it's not focusing like I'd like it to. Right there is Q49. That's the one that controls the transmit. This one controls the receive. And if you look, it actually says RX here, and it does say TX right there. I'm sure you can't see that in. Oh, actually, you might be able to see that in the camera. So, and I do have a dummy load hooked up to this. I'm going to turn the radio back on. And I'm going to go to FM so you guys can hear it a little bit better. So you can probably hear some static right there. And of course, press the microphone and it doesn't do anything. But and I'm hoping y'all can hear that. All I'm doing is shorten the collector and the emitter. And I can hear the rest of the radio come to life. As far as relay switching, and it sounds like I can almost hear that in the speaker as well. So I'm thinking that might actually be something that's going to help us there. So I'm thinking that transistor is out. It's not conducting. And another thing I wanted to point out is, while I'm doing this, let me just go to this view. Right here. If you watch the modulation monitor, we'll get the microphone past here. If you watch right here, you'll actually see that needle swing when I talk. So let me go ahead and, I'm in AM, I'm going to key the radio. I'm going to jumper that, and now you can see that there's some swing on that needle. So it looks like it's actually going into transmit, but if you look at the meter on the left, there's nothing basically moving over there, which means I think that might take care of the switching for the TR, but we don't have any output power. So I kept having to look around some more and see if I can figure out what's going on with that. I think this radio's got 2 or 3 different kind of problems on it. All coming together. So I'm thinking that RF kind of went everywhere in the radio. So I'm hoping we're going to be able to get this back together and get it operational again. Give me just a moment. Let me move some stuff around, reposition camera, and I will show you what else I was thinking, because what I was doing next was, okay, why isn't there RF output? It sounds like it's switching. The modulation meter looks like we're working. Why is there no power coming out? And I have checked this with a power output meter. I just have the dummy load on right now. I don't have a meter in line. But I started tracing the other way back from the antenna to find out what was going on, especially in the transmit mode. And besides a filter, a little bit of filtering, really the next thing back is finals and drivers. So let me show you what I found next. Give me just a moment. Okay, we're back. You know, I don't know if that last scene was right, the one I wanted it to have, but anyhow, let's move on. You're kind of looking at right now, kind of peeking over the top of the front of the radio. And in the radio, once you've generated the RF, you got to amplify the RF, and it takes a few steps before you get to the point where you have your full 150 watts output, or whatever you happen to have the radio set at. So after the RF is generated, it has to go through a pre-driver, which is right here. Coming out of the pre-driver, it moves over to a driver. This driver right here then runs out through this coax and then back into the PA, which is in here, which has the two big final transistors in it, power amplifier transistors, and then it goes out the antenna, and well, actually it goes through the relay, then out the antenna. So my next thought was, because I didn't want to take all of this apart first, I didn't need to, I wanted to check these. And after looking at the schematic, you can test an NPN transistor fairly easily. You just got to be careful on what's happening as far as the circuitry that it's tied into, otherwise you have to pull it out. And I might end up doing that anyhow, but let me show you what I found, particularly on this one, the driver. It's Q60 in this radio. It's an NPN transistor. So let me set up a little bit differently, get the radio flipped around, and we'll take a look at what I found on this transistor. Alright, so here we are back at the, we're looking at the bottom of the radio. This is just underneath those two transistors that I was just showing you. So this one right here would be the Q60 that I was talking about. This one over here is the Q62. So this is the pre-driver, this is the driver. This board has another spot right here where you would have another driver, which in reality would be more like for the 2950, where it doesn't have the outside PA, like this one does. So this would actually be your finals, or probably pre-driver, driver, and then final. So these are NPN transistors. So they have you know, you can test them. NPN, so we know that in this case, this right here, this leg, is our emitter. The middle leg is our collector, and this leg is our base. So basically it's negative, negative, positive, if you wanted to look at it like a diode. So they're basically, it almost tests like two diodes here, with this being the positive side of each diode, kind of. So let me show you what it's supposed to look like. So let me go ahead and go right here. So we're looking at one of my multimeters, and we're in the diode test right now. I got my positive, I got my negative. Get this where y'all can see it. Okay. So, hopefully y'all be able to see this. This is the way it should test. So, if it's NPN, and this one has the same pin out. It's a different transistor, but it has the same pin out. So, the collector and the emitter, these two right here, are the negative side, if it's going to be in conduction. So the positive is the base. So right there you see that's a good about half a volt drop. That's from the emitter to the base. This is the collector to the base. That's about right. And if I go reverse, it should block. So if I put my negative on the base and I go to the emitter, so it's showing about the same. Okay, so that's charging a capacitor right there. Like I said, sometimes it's hard to test some of this, and this might show the same anyhow because of the fact that it's there's not literally a diode there; it's just a silicon between there. But there's basically no conduction to here, which is good. If I come over to this one and I do the same test, so I have my positive on the emitter or on the base. If I go to the collector, that shows good. You hear that tone? See that 0? That shouldn't do that, and that does that both directions. This one right here shows a charging capacitor, it looks like. That one right there, that's no good. So let's go over and look at the schematic real quick and see if there's any way that should be like that. So let me see if I can get back over here. Okay, so let's go down here and see if we can't find these. Okay, so here's kind of our driver section right here. Here's Q62, base, collector, emitter. Here's Q60, base, collector, emitter. So I had what was showing as a short between the base right here and the emitter right here. Okay, well the emitter we can see goes to ground. Okay. Now, why would we have continuity, 0 ohms between here and here? Well, let's look back and see what we have in our circuit. First off, we have a capacitor here. So that's going to block DC. It might charge a little bit, but it's going to mostly block DC. So let's come to here. We got a lot of stuff this is also hooked to. So the base here is connected to all these things right here. So we've got, let's see, got a capacitor. We got an inductor right here, but that's in line with it. We've got a diode right here. And if that had failed and shorted, that would take us to ground. This resistor probably isn't going to short. It's going to ground. A variable, which is also going to ground. And then 2 capacitors. So it looks to me like the most likely case of what's going on here is either A, it's shorted through here, this internal diode basically. There's not really a diode in there, but the way that shows it, it shows it as a diode. Either this is shorted to ground, or this diode would be my first guesses on what's possibly making this short from here to here. Other than that, there is no reason why this should be 0 ohms to here. We can't even get past this capacitor here to go down to here, and I mean, there's a lot between here and there. I'm not finding us going to ground anywhere in here. I mean, closest we get is another capacitor right here. So I think this needs to be pulled out and tested. If we test it out of circuit and it's fine, then we need to check this diode. If this diode's fine and that's fine, then, well, the search continues. But I'm gonna think we're either gonna find this bad or we're gonna find this bad. So that's pretty much where we're at right now. So I'm gonna pull this one out right here. I'm gonna have to get it moved over to the other bench and get this pulled out. But I think what I'll do is I'll pull this out real quick, and then we'll test it. And if it's not good, we'll try to do a test on the diode. Okay, and we're back. I did get that transistor out, and I was a little off actually. I thought this was a shorted one, but I did pull out this and did test across that diode, and I still got, the buzzer. I went back and looked at the schematic again, and this meter would recognize that as a short. The reason being is because there's a 22 ohm diode and there's a VR in line with parallel with that diode, and it was right about 11 ohms across that diode if you take those other two resistors into account, and this one was showing that as a short, or at least enough to make the buzzer come on. I did check the blank spot that was beside it where you could put a transistor, and it had exactly the same thing. So the diode's good, because when I do go the other direction, I get I believe that's right, but I still went ahead and checked this. You can see I am in diode check right here, so we're going to do NPN again. So we do have our base over on this side. So if I go base to emitter, it's open. I go collector to emitter, it's open. And it doesn't matter which way I do these. So even if I had it backwards, there is absolutely, that was me just touching, actually slipped. There's nothing there. So what we're going to do is, this is a 2SC 2312. This is a 2SC 1969. They're pretty close. Pretty much got about the same amount of gain. This one's just a little bit lower power dissipation than this one, but I think it's still going to work. So let's check and see what it looks like. Get on the base. That's showing good. That's showing good. Okay, let's reverse it, make sure that we're still good. And open. And open. So this one I think we're going to put in there and see if we can get it to work. I'm still going to have to replace that other transistor that's doing the switching, but I do have a donor radio. This is a 2950 that I mentioned that I had the CPU go out on, and I've already pulled. This is the one right there. It's the driver. So you got pre-driver, driver, and final. So down over here we have that same PNP transistor over there that I'm going to have to try and get out of here. It's going to be pretty tight in this one. The other chassis, there's actually almost an opening right here that I can get in with a soldering iron. So I'm going to pull that out of here and see if I can get it in the other radio. Put this transistor in, and hopefully we'll be in good shape. I'm hoping that's all it takes to get this radio going, but that's pretty much what I'm going to do. It's going to take a little bit to get this out of here. I got to be really careful. It's a pretty tight spot down there, and that is a surface mount transistor. So a little bit of work to do. Get this back in. Hopefully this one works. Like I said, I think this is like a 20 watt dissipation, and I think this one's like 17 or something. the funny part is that on this radio, of course, it's hard to tell. They have upgrades. The schematic I found for the 2950DX actually shows these finals and this driver being 2312s, just like this one. But they are running this one in it, and everything else looks to be the same. So I'm thinking that I can kind of pretty much directly replace this in there and it still work. I don't think that they're probably running this at full dissipation due to the fact that it does have a two 29 or two SC 2290s, 2292s transistors for the actual PA. So I don't think they're running these super hard just to feed those. So I think this one might work. I'm hoping so. Get this one out of here, out of this donor radio, and hopefully the radio is going to work right if there's no other problems. I'm going to go ahead and finish this video right here. I'm going to get to work on this, and then we'll have a follow-up video once I've gotten all this work done. It's going to take a little bit to get this out of here, and we'll go from there, and hopefully it works. Hopefully it gets this radio back to working. Otherwise, I guess we'll continue looking for any other problems that we might have. But I guess we'll see. Thanks for stopping by, and join us on the next video. I'll let you know if it either works or blows up. Bye for now.